Let's deploy a small server to a cloud platform and make it accessible globally. The first step in this process is to create a GitHub project, which I have already done. I've called it Little Server, and then I have gone ahead and cloned that environment locally. I then went ahead and added some code. The code is in the index.js file, and as you can see here, it is a very simple little server. We use the express package. Lines 4 through 6 establish the default route, which returns hello world, and lines 8 through 10 set the port that this will be accessible through. Now, before we go any further, let's go ahead and confirm the functionality. I'm going to go ahead and move to the terminal window, and as you can see there, I am in the same folder, little server. I will go ahead and enter node, index.js. And as you can see there, that is now running. I'm going to go ahead and move to the browser. I'm going to go ahead and enter that address. And in this case, it is running on port 3000. And as you can see there, we get the hello world back. Now, at this point, after confirming functionality, you would push your server, you would push your changes back to the server, which I have already done. And as you can see here, we can confirm that index.js is what we think. And you can see there that we have the code that we have client side as well. Now, the next step is to create a machine on a cloud vendor. In this case, I have chosen DigitalOcean for its simplicity. Also, if you get the student pack, you have enough credits to be able to use a machine for many months. And so let's go ahead and do that now. So you can see here, I will log in. It is simply digitalocean.com. I will go ahead and press and login, and my credentials are cached, so I'm not challenged. I will then select create. And droplets are the terminology that DigitalOcean uses to identify creating cloud servers. It is meant to be another drop in the ocean of DigitalOcean. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. I then have a number of options. I could start off with the operating system and build up from there. However, there are images that have more functionality that I can make use of. In this case, I am going to choose an image that already has Node.js on top of Ubuntu, as you can see there. So that is Node 8, the latest version of Node, on top of the latest version of Ubuntu. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to go with the smallest machine possible because it doesn't really matter for what we're going to be doing. I'm then going to choose a data center region. I'm going to choose the closest one. I'm going to go with the defaults for the rest, with the exception of keys. These are the same type of keys that you have added to your GitHub account. In this case, I have already uploaded my own keys, so I do not have to create new SSH keys. However, you can do it if you wish. I'm going to simply select here my key, and then I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it small server, or let's call it the same thing, little server. And at this point, we're done. We can go ahead, and if we wanted to, by the way, we could create many more of the same thing, but I'm simply going to create one. So I'm going to go ahead and click on create, and as you can see, that machine spins up right away. So now that that machine has been created, an IP has been assigned to it, and it is accessible globally. Now we're going to go ahead and log into that machine using the keys that I have specified. So I'm going to go ahead and move to the terminal window again. I don't need this anymore, so I can go ahead and stop it. And as you can see here, I have a directory where I have my keys. And so I'm simply going to enter SSH-I. I will specify my keys. And then I'm going to log in as root to the machine. This is the default user, and that's not mit.edu, but this is simply the IP that I took from here, which is the one of the brand new machine that we just created, right? Now, at this point, you might get challenged if this is the first time you've used keys on your operating system. You might get a permission access error. If that's the case, you can fix it by specifying the right access or giving your machine access to these keys. You can do it with these commands. Now, for me, I've already done this, so I will not be challenged. I'm going to go ahead and access the machine and confirm that it is a trusted machine. And as you can see here, I have some instructions about what this machine is and what ports are open. And you can see here that all ports are blocked with the exception of 22. That's how we connect it to the machine. Port 80, which is the default HTTP server, and 443, which is HTTPS. Now this machine already has Git. So if we enter Git here, you can see that it is trying to parse the command and looking for a command. So at this point, we can go ahead and clone our code that we wrote in our local environment to the cloud, or to this cloud machine that we just created. So I'm going to go ahead here to little server, and I'm going to go ahead and use the HTTPS, not the SSH, because we have not set up keys on the machine. And in this case, we're simply doing a deployment. So that's good enough. So I'm going to enter here git clone and the address of my little server. And you can see there that that code has been copied locally. I can go ahead and move into little server, and that code there is ready to go. We can go ahead and run the code just like we did in our local environment. However, now remember, we are up on the cloud running on a machine that is in DigitalOcean. And if I hit return, you can see there that we get the error that it cannot find Express. And by now you should know why this is. It's because we have not run npm install. We'll go ahead and do that next. And as you can see there, now we have a node modules folder that has been populated. We'll run again. And as you can see, that is running now on port 3000. However, if we try to access that machine, if you remember that status message when we logged into the machine, it said that all ports had been blocked except for 80, 443, and 22. So here you have a couple of options. You could easily change the port to 80, or you could open up an additional port on the configuration of the firewall. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're simply going to edit, and we can do it with one of the default editors on Linux. And here we're going to go ahead and enter index.js. And as you can see there, we're running on port 3000, and we're going to go ahead and change this to 80. Let me go ahead and change my status message as well. And now I am simply going to save this file. We're going to confirm the changes. And yes, we are on port 80. Now, if we go ahead and enter node, we should be able to hit this service. So what we need is we need the IP, and let's go ahead and get it from here. This is the IP of the machine that is sitting on DigitalOcean. And so we're going to go ahead and enter that. And we don't need a port because 80 is the default port. And if we enter that, you can see there that we get hello world back. So at this point, if you've gotten this far, you should feel pretty good because you've deployed a service that is accessible globally, and anyone in the world can use it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you the other alternative where we can run on port 3000 and the type of configuration that we have to do. For that, we need to review what the firewall is. And I entered here the wrong command. Let me go ahead and enter that again. And as you can see there, we have the ports that we expect, 22, 80, and 443. Next, we're going to enter a command to allow port 3000. And if we view the firewall status again, you can see there that now port 3000 is available. So if we edit our file again, and we go back to 3000, you'll see that that should work. So let me just go ahead and update my status message, confirm my changes, and now run again. So now if we enter 80, if we reload, you'll see that it cannot find it because we've taken it down. And we're now on 3000, and on 3000 we get the message back. So as you can see there are a lot of pieces. The first part all the way up to deploying to GitHub is the same thing we have done already. And the cloud part is creating a machine, setting the right key so that you can log into the machine. Once you are within the machine, you already have Linux, you already have Node, you already have Git. So it's a matter of cloning your code to the environment and then making sure that it is accessible given the ports that are open by default. So there's a lot of pieces there. Try it a few times. As I mentioned, this default machine that we used is $5. However, the amount of computation that I have used, you can see there, is very little, 50 cents. However, if you run an entire month, it would only be $5. So a few days should be very little money. In fact, I suspect that those charges are for other things I was doing earlier because I don't think we would have consumed that much processing in this short few minutes. So give it a try. It should be a lot of fun.